What's up, people? In this video we're going to take a look at none other than the legendary Vegan Gains. I've watched a clip of one of his videos, which it was actually one of Sverage's videos, where he talks about stomping on babies or something. It's kind of weird, but from what I understand, this Vegan Gains guy, his thing is it's for entertainment. I think he's got a disclaimer in his videos. I don't really know, but anyway, I see this guy a lot on various message boards. He's kind of the guy people love to hate, and I would say that he's the front. He's on the front lines of the vegan war on the internet, right? The dude does a bunch of debates, and he's very vocal about his opinions, and just kind of is the vegan internet warrior guy kind of thing. So I'm honestly a little bit nervous to do this video because he probably doesn't care about me. But anyway, somebody asked that I do this video. Joe Rogan says vegan diets are bad. 22 minutes, kind of long, but 1.5 speed. So that's it. If you guys have any other recommendations for YouTubers or specific videos you want me to take a look at, let me know. Leave me a comment, please.
Comedian, UFC commentator, and plant rights activist just recently put out a video where he was interviewing Chris Kresser, who is an internet diet guru who sells paleo diet books and went to school for acupuncture and brags about having been on the Dr. Oz show. Big surprise that an acupuncturist who sells paleo diet books wound up on the Dr. Oz show along with Joe Rogan's podcast. So these two are discussing how horrible vegan diets are despite major health and nutrition institutions, including the American Dietetics Association, claiming that vegan diets are
So, well, whatever, let's just let this run a little
helpful and nutritious and appropriate for people of all ages from pregnancy to adulthood. But apparently Chris knows more than them, and apparently he knows more than Dr. Oz too, because Dr. Oz says that vegan diets are helpful and prevent against chronic disease. Maybe you shouldn't have gone on the Dr. Oz show?
But then over the course of maybe 3, 4, 5 years or so, they started having real issues.
And they don't necessarily tie that to the diet because they remember feeling so much better when they first switched to it. So they don't think that what's happening.
Alright, so I just realized you guys probably can't see Homeboy right here, so let's just change that. Oops, fuck, what did I do here? There we go. Alright, god damn it, whatever, fuck it. Yeah, so basically, this guy, I wouldn't take any health advice from this guy. What's interesting is I've actually seen this video, strangely enough, one of the few videos I've seen. I remember watching this video, and I think this guy's an ex-vegan who experienced a bunch of health effects that were negative and came out about it and wrote a book or something. Oh, now he does paleo diets. I will say that if you've ever listened to podcasts, you can kind of only listen to one podcast, and that's kind of listening to all of them because they all have the same guests, they all talk about the same shit, and they're all the same advertisements. Oh my god, they're so fucking boring. So you can kind of just pick one. So again, he is right in that these guys are all just trying to promote their new book. Basically, it's a book tour. They go on except it's a podcast tour. It's ridiculous, and that's why I can't listen to them anymore. So what I will say, first impressions other than that, is that this sounds like normal vegan science debates, right? Where you'll basically be well, this person said this thing, however doctors say this, or the studies say that blah 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 25% risk went down or something. So not the best judge of whether or not something is good, in my opinion, but I'm sure we'll see much more of that in this video.
3 or 4 years later could be the cause of their problems. I see this all the time with vegetarian and vegan diets.
You know what I see all the time with omnivorous diets? Heart disease, diabetes, cancer. When we have study after study showing that those who follow a vegan diet have better health outcomes with lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, what does that tell you? Vegan diets have obvious health benefits, they prevent against chronic disease, and then you counter that with weak anecdotal claims. I'm telling you, man, I see it all the time, Vegans just keep getting all these health problems. You're a joke.
Most people who switch to a vegetarian or vegan diet, you're going to see some instant benefits because of the fact that you have much more nutrient-dense foods, you're eating a lot of vegetables, you're changing your diet in a lot of ways to the positive, or towards a positive, away from what you were talking about, those primary foods that Americans tend to eat. All the processed sugar, all the just nonsense, and chicken tenders and all that crap that people eat, which is just so goddamn common, right? Yeah. So automatically over that, you're going to see some long-term benefits.
Fair enough point, Joe, but even when we compare populations of vegans and vegetarians to healthy Oh
my god, I have to watch this whole thing. So basically, vegetables are not nutrient dense. So like I don't know where he got that from, but so the more that I like actually take a closer look at like athletes who are vegan, specifically Patrick Baboumian and Blessed Athlete, and now this guy, because I've seen pictures of him before. He seems coherent. I am kind of starting to think that it is possible to like actually kind of be healthy and get enough protein and blah 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 on a vegan diet. Like none of them seem malnourished or like lacking in anything in particular. They all seem like fairly normal, and they're athletes, right? It just sounds like it's a lot more work to do all of that. Like you got to like combine the right foods and like do all this other shit. And in terms of like actually being more healthy overall, in my experience, again, this is like anecdotal claims that like if homie was like watching my video, he'd be like, that's an anecdotal claim, you're ridiculous, blah blah blah. But you know, most of the vegans who I've seen are not super healthy. And to be fair, I guess now that I think about it, I've never actually done a vegan diet where I was eating lots of beans and like peanuts and stuff like that, compared to like meat. So I guess I've never really done a real test as far as how I would perform athletically, which is what I consider to be a real test, comparing those two. So yeah. Let's take a look at more.
Populations of omnivores who eat lots of fruits and vegetables and little to no processed food, vegans and vegetarians still have better health outcomes with lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer. Meat, dairy, and eggs just don't correlate well with health and longevity.
The lack, this is contrary to what a lot of people think, lack of saturated fat and cholesterol, dietary cholesterol and saturated fat, leads to hormonal imbalances, leads to your body having a harder time producing sex hormones, and all these different issues with your health, where your body almost starts robbing itself to make up for the nutritional deficiencies of your diet.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, luckily we have research on this that it looks like your acupuncturist friend has never read. Vegans actually have higher total testosterone levels than meat eaters, despite eating no cholesterol and less saturated fat. Saturated fat and cholesterol do not boost testosterone levels, and in fact, they actually reduce it. A high-fat meal will cut both bound and free testosterone by nearly
See, now I have to like check all this shit. Effects of a fat-containing meal on sex hormones in men. So, effects of a fat-containing meal on plasma sex steroid concentration investigated in normal men. Overnight fast on 2 separate occasions. Subjects ingested a liquid meal, either a non-nutritive sweetener or isocaloric meals of mixed calorie sources with either high fat content or mixed carbohydrate and protein with minimal fat. Order of the meals was alternated. So, like, what is it, like, who, like, what kind of a test is this anyway, right? Like, here's my test that I would like to see. Science community, like, maybe do this one. Take a group of people, okay, have them fast for a couple days or a day or whatever. You give one of the groups raw steak, raw beef, okay, give them whatever, some raw beef and some raw liver, okay, have them eat it. And the other group, you can give them their, like, you know, non-nutritive, like, flavorless milkshake or whatever, like, your control group is. And then test, okay, like, what is this? Like, this is not an actual, like, you shouldn't be eating this anyway. So, I don't know, like, how is this, this is, like, and this is kind of the problem with, like, all this, like, all these, like, I don't want to, like, go through and, like, check every single one of these studies, but a lot of them are kind of, like, cherry-picking certain results, when the real test, in my opinion, is when you, like, look actually at a vegan. Like, I guess the reason, the problem is that nobody's really doing a vegan diet right, I guess is what it really is. Like, again, like I said, Patrick Baboumian, Blessed Athlete, and I guess this guy, I don't really know much about him because, like, I don't know, like, I've never heard of him giving any, like, advice. It's really just, like, him being very abrasive and, like, telling people, like, calling people stupid.
And free testosterone by nearly a third, whereas a high carbohydrate meal low in fat doesn't have this effect. The spike in fat in your blood after a high fat meal suppresses testosterone production in your testicles. What's also interesting is that high carbohydrate diets appear to have a beneficial effect of boosting testosterone and lowering cortisol levels compared to a high protein diet, and in the study
Protein carbohydrate ratio alters reciprocally the plasma levels of testosterone and cortisol and their respective binding globulins. Testosterone concentrations in several normal men were consistently higher after 10 days on a high carbohydrate diet, accompanied by parallel changes in sex hormone. So they're saying high carb diets are better. I don't know. Again, like, this is one of those things that, like, okay, maybe, but I don't know anybody who eats more carbs and like looks like they have like better health, I guess. So I guess.
Study, both calories and fat were kept equal, so carbohydrates have a beneficial effect on your testosterone levels, whereas saturated fat and cholesterol have a negative effect. Too bad they didn't teach you that in acupuncture school.
Humans are animals. You know, we're omnivores. And
wait a minute, I saw a video on YouTube. There's a guy that says there's no way that we are herbivores, and that if we are some fucking wacky dude who's saying that if you're really an omnivore, you should be able to eat a squirrel, just grab it and eat it raw. I'm like,
yeah. No.
It's the most bizarre...
There's some strange arguments out there.
Yeah, many predatory species have evolved sharp teeth and claws to better catch and kill prey, whereas humans don't have that. You know what we also don't have? A short digestive tract, an ability to produce vitamin C, and we can't regulate our cholesterol levels, which results in atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis is a disease that only herbivorous animals...
Dogs, cats, tigers can be saturated with fat and cholesterol.
Can get, as we haven't evolved to eat saturated animal fats and cholesterol. So I think it's fair to call human beings herbivores, as we have all of the physiological adaptations of herbivores, although we do eat meat to the detriment of our own health. I also want to point out that this article was written by Dr. William C. Roberts, editor-in-chief of the American College of Cardiology. This guy is one of the most knowledgeable and well-respected experts in cardiology in the entire world. He doesn't have a license to practice acupuncture, but he is still a well-regarded expert in his field, whereas Chris Kresser is not. So the overall weight of evidence and the best experts in the entire world disagree with your opinions, Chris. I know you think you're a big deal because you were on the Dr. Oz show, but you don't know shit.
We shouldn't drink milk because we're the only we're the only animal in nature that drinks the milk of another animal. Yeah, well, we're the only animal in nature that uses iPhones too.
So you think we should drink milk because we have iPhones? Well, I personally don't think we should drink milk because not only would that be animal exploitation and the dairy industry tortures and kills dairy cows, but it's also horrible for our health. Milk increases risk of all-cause mortality, it raises markers of inflammation, and increases risk of bone fractures. I don't think your iPhone makes torturing and killing animals and consuming their byproducts ethical or healthy.
So there's lots of different ways to look at this.
So like I understand like why this guy like does the debates with people. Like I get it. I think the milk in those studies was not like raw milk actually, like from a cow. I think it's like pasteurized, homogenized, like store-bought shit. Minor point there. But like what he said about, you know, torturing dairy cows and stuff, like obviously they don't live a good life.
So starting with an evolutionary perspective, which I was getting at, omnivores are opportunistic. They will eat whatever is available, and they'll eat the most nutrient-dense foods that are available if they have a choice. And that's just, again, that's survival. You know, an animal that is able to utilize the nutrients that are available in its environment to its maximal advantage is going to survive compared to one that doesn't.
I see. So it's good to drink cow's milk because iPhones, but it's bad to be vegan or vegetarian because appeal to nature fallacy. I really couldn't care less if humans have a natural inclination to go after the most nutrient-dense foods. The fact is, we haven't adapted to eat animal products. They just cause our most common chronic diseases, and it's completely hypocritical for you to claim that it's okay to do something unnatural, like drink cow's milk because we're modern humans and we have technology and we do weird shit, but it's wrong to be vegan or vegetarian because our ancestors never did that and it goes against tradition. Clearly, you have an unreasonable personal bias and you'll make up whatever ridiculous claims you want to support that bias.
An animal that is able to utilize the nutrients that are available in its environment to its maximal advantage is going to survive compared to one that doesn't. That's basic evolutionary theory. So if you study traditional peoples, as far as I know, still, there's never been a traditional group that has ever been identified that voluntarily followed a vegan or even vegetarian diet that I know of. So that should tell you something right there.
Yes, Chris, I think we can all agree with you that from a survival standpoint, it was advantageous for early humans to eat meat, but survival is different from health. You're not thinking about survival when you go to the grocery store. You should be thinking about your health, and meat is not healthy. Like, yeah, if you're out in the wild and you have the choice between either eating meat or starving to death, obviously eating meat would be the better option. But if you're at the grocery store and you have the choice between either eating steak or fruits and vegetables are obviously the better option. And guess what? The longest living population is the Californian Adventist vegetarians, and they survive the longest because they eat a healthy diet that's appropriate for a human being. They don't follow some bullshit fad paleo diet that you came up with based on appeal to nature fallacy. So that should tell you something right there. Just because our ancient ancestors ate a particular way, that doesn't mean it's healthy for us now. They were focused on short-term survival, and they do whatever they could just to survive the next day. Long-term health wasn't their concern. This whole paleo diet thing you're promoting is complete marketing bullshit. Yeah, man, it's so manly and extreme. It's all about being a caveman, hunting, living on the edge. You're a joke. Science and just plain logical thinking doesn't support any of your claims.
And ironically, the fact that you and I are even having this conversation, this wouldn't even be happening if humans had not learned eating meat, basically. There are a lot of anthropologists who now believe that eating meat was essentially what made us human. You know, we came down out of the trees and we developed the development of tools that could crack bones to give us access to the marrow, which is super nutrient dense, or to slice meat, which allowed us to be able to digest the meat more quickly, number one. And then two, the development of fire, which allowed us to cook meat, and cooking makes the nutrients in meat more bioavailable, allowed us to spend less time foraging for food.
I don't mean to insult anyone's cat, but I don't see a correlation between meat eating and intelligence. The consensus among most anthropology experts is that fire...
Oh god, getting the same results from burning wood, put those calories better use in their brains. Fire for unnecessary. Fire brought hominids out of the trees. Sleep on the ground. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so I've heard there's like a lot of people that say that like, oh, ever since humans started cooking food, they like developed more, their brains developed. But I guess what this says is that the ability to cook, which is a result of like using fire, also, what is this, allowed them to sleep on the ground and build houses and shit, I guess. I guess that makes sense. Like, I honestly, I like this explanation better than the whole cooking the meat thing. Regarding the whole, like, is it healthier to eat fruits and vegetables as opposed to, eating meat? And again, this is just like my personal experience. Like I haven't tried every possible combination of like a vegan diet, but in my experience, if I've got a very big day the next day in terms of exercise and I eat like, vegetables, or he doesn't really say like whether you should eat like legumes or whatever. I'm assuming that that's what he does eat, because I've seen pictures of him, he's pretty jacked. I don't know if that would be better, maybe, but I do really well on raw meat and like oatmeal and eggs. So, I mean, honestly, like listening to this guy, like I guess it's possible. Like he's very abrasive and he's kind of a dick, but like all of this like scientific stuff, like at the end of the day, I think the science should really only be trusted insofar as you are able to kind of do an actual test on people and not just like point to these like numbers in like a study and be like, aha, see, like this 25% number here, like that's better than your number, so therefore veganism is better. That's that. And like also, to be fair, the other dude on the podcast, like he's there to sell books, you know what I mean? That's like, this is like an hour long like commercial for him.
In cooking our food caused our brain expansion. Not eating meat, if anything, it was just another calorie source. There isn't any special nutritive property in meat that causes brain expansion, and there's actually contrasting evidence which shows cooking starchy root vegetables aided in brain development as it provided our brain with a constant stream of glucose. So you're wrong about nutrition, you're wrong about anthropology, and what relevance does any of this have today? Like, okay, hunting, making tools, eating meat aided in our species development. What's that going to do for us now? Do you really think eating meat is going to make us smarter and be better problem solvers? Is eating meat going to make our internet faster, help us develop fusion reactors, travel through space and colonize other planets? Oh, and by the way, vegans and vegetarians tend to be smarter on average?
So yeah, let's break this down. We talked about the evolutionary argument for eating animal products. And there's a scientific argument, which now is what we're talking about. Yeah. The issue with, and we should even kind of distinguish between vegetarian and vegan diets, because they're actually quite different.
Wow, vegan and vegetarian diets are actually different? You really know your stuff. I can see why they let you on Dr. Oz.
And I think it is possible for some people to be healthy with a vegetarian diet. I think it's a lot less likely with a vegan diet.
Yeah, well, once again, the American Dietetics Association would disagree with you. Vegan diets are helpful and nutritionally adequate for...
All right, like I get it. Like this is like what this diet does. It's like a debate. Everything's like a debate. Like I'm going to say something and back it up with like a study. Again, like I'm willing to say like all of this is true, but like practically, just because, okay, so again, what's the problem with these studies? Like what was the last one? Like vegans are smarter, or vegans and vegetarians are smarter. Is it possible that there's an additional variable that was not like measured in the study? Like let's say, for example, I'm just spitballing here, right? Who knows? Let's say that vegans and vegetarians normally come from like a higher socioeconomic class as opposed to like lower class, like poor people, basically, right? That's fair to say, isn't it? I think that's a safe assumption. And those people are also like likely to be smarter, right? More intelligent. So like it's stuff like that. Like if you want to like look through all of this stuff and like really dig down and like square off against vegan gains in the battle of like YouTube, I guess. But like the dude obviously does this for like a living. Like I would never debate this guy, right? Like I don't, I'm more like practical. Like tell me, like tell me what to eat. You know what I mean? Like tell me what to eat specifically that will make me feel and perform better than eating raw meat, right? I'm not like attached to this idea of raw meat. Like if you tell me peanuts and lentils, eat only peanuts and lentils and you'll feel a bazillion times better and you can run faster and jump higher and work out longer and like your dick will get bigger, like okay, I'll eat peanuts and lentils. Like I don't care. But just in my experience, like that's not the case. You know what I mean? So like great study, your videos are entertaining, like you're funny, but I don't know, it doesn't really like, it doesn't work in the real world, you know what I mean? Well, maybe it does. Maybe I just haven't tried the right way.
for all stages of life from pregnancy to adulthood, and vegans have better overall health outcomes compared to vegetarians, with lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and all-cause mortality. So yeah, the acupuncturist who was on the Dr. Oz show was right. It's basically impossible to be healthy on a vegan diet.
If you're a vegan and you're eating a vegan diet, you need to have a perfect vegan diet to be healthy, and you need to know what you're doing in terms of supplementation and how to meet the nutrient needs that aren't being met through diet.
The most common nutrient deficiencies that vegans get are number 1, B12, which can very easily be supplemented, or you can eat fortified foods like mock meats or vegan milks like soy or almond milk. A lot of vegans also don't get enough calcium, which is another easy one. Lots of green vegetables, beans, tofu will give you plenty of calcium, or again, you could just eat fortified vegan milks that have calcium added and you'll be fine. And lastly, vitamin D. Pretty much everyone doesn't get enough vitamin D, so whether you're vegan or not, chances are you should supplement with vitamin D. And again, fortified vegan milks often have vitamin D added. And the statement that vegans have to eat a perfect diet to be healthy makes no sense. So are vegans eating more perfect than omnivores and even other vegetarians to be having such good long-term health outcomes with lower rates of disease and all-cause mortality? If you actually look at studies comparing nutrient intakes of vegans to other...
God, you guys, like, it's kind of like who... like, I don't know. Why do you guys, like, watch this stuff? Like, what do you guys get out of this whole, like, conflict and, like, the vegan or carnivore thing? Like, I don't know. But anyway, again, like, the last example I think was vegans are healthier overall, right? Like, it could be an additional variable, you know? Like, again, the socioeconomic thing kind of, like, is coming to mind again. It's possible that rich or, like, whatever, middle class to rich people just have more healthy habits overall, which I'm pretty sure is true. Eat less processed food. There's less fast food restaurants located in more affluent areas. What does it say? Strict vegetarians, low dietary intakes of B12 and D, calcium, blah, blah, blah. Have any concern? Mean intakes of these nutrients were above minimum requirements. Okay, so stuff like this, like whoever asked me to do this video, like, I kind of hate you. But minimum requirements, like, this implies that these minimum requirements are, like, correct, right? And if Vegan Gains was like, I'm, like, imagining him arguing with me, right? He's like, well, you don't have a PhD, you're not a doctor, so therefore, like, you're going to say that the medical establishment with, like, all these, like, thousands of doctors, their guidelines for minimum requirements are wrong, and you, like, the fucking bro with, like, bad hair in your, like, you know, $4 a night room in Bangkok, you're right, and people should listen to you instead. Fair point. Imaginary Vegan Gains, like, you're right. But just in my experience with other examples of, let's say, testing these minimum requirements, I have far exceeded these minimum requirements many times and experienced, like, no ill effects. And okay, I guess there are minimum requirements, like, to be alive. I guess I just have a higher, not a higher standard, like, higher expectations of, you know, like, myself and my performance.
Their diet groups, vegans tend to do quite well. They tend to eat higher amounts of antioxidants and fiber. There are some nutrients they tend to get less of, like calcium and vitamin D, as I just mentioned. But in this particular study, nutrient intakes were above minimum recommendations. So this bullshit you're doing is just fear-mongering. It's very easy to eat a nutritionally adequate vegan diet. You're just incredibly ignorant. You know very little about nutrition, and your advice sucks.
And it's, at least in my experience, there are very few that actually do it right.
Cool story, bro.
When it's done right, I think it's possible for some people to be healthy and thrive, and that's obvious because there are people like Rich Roll, who's, like, out there. He's a vegan triathlete who's out there, you know, doing centuries and killing it.
Yeah,
like,
ultramarathons.
Yeah, he is just an amazing athlete, and he's vegan, and so, you know, you can't say that it's not working for him.
Right.
If you try to say that, you're gonna.
He also looks like he's 30. He's older than me. He's like,
all you can do is rely on weak anecdotal claims. The only arguments he made so far is, well, in my personal experience, I haven't seen too many people do well on a vegan diet. I've only seen maybe one or two. Haven't looked at any research, but, you know, me personally, haven't seen too many good vegans, so I wouldn't recommend the diet. Along with the field of nature fallacies claiming, well, veganism and vegetarianism isn't good for you because our ancestors didn't eat that way. You're a joke. You know what? We have iPhones. I think iPhones prove that veganism is healthy.
So certainly it works for some people, but there are a lot of factors that determine whether it's going to work. So one is how well you do it.
Oh, you mean I still have to eat healthy as a vegan? I can't just live off of Oreos and potato chips? Wow, I never would have known that. You're just such an expert. Where did you go to school again? 2 is, you know, whether you know what you're doing with supplementation in terms of getting necessary nutrients. 3 is genetics. So there are genetic differences that determine how well we convert precursor nutrients into the nutrients that we actually need. Let me give 3 examples to make this more real. So one is EPA and DHA. These are these long-chain omega-3 fats that we've heard so much about that are crucial for brain function, cardiovascular function, etc. And you primarily get them by eating fish. There are no sources of those in a plant-based diet. But there is something called alpha-linolenic acid, which is in walnuts and flaxseed. That's an omega-3 plant fat. And humans, in theory, can convert some of that plant-based omega-3 into this long-chain EPA and DHA that we need. But here's the thing. Only about 5 to 10% of that gets converted into EPA, and even less to DHA, like 2 to 5%. So you have to be chugging tablespoons of flax oil in order to get as much
EPA or DHEA that you would get from eating just a little bit of fish.
Wrong again, Chris. On your own website, you recommend consuming 500 milligrams of DHA per day. Well, 1 tablespoon of flax oil gives you 8 grams of ALA. The average conversion rate of ALA to DHA is 3.8%. So 1 tablespoon of flax oil would give you 300 milligrams of DHA. So 2 tablespoons of flax oil would give you 600 milligrams of DHA, which is above your daily recommended intake. And again, on your website, you recommend getting fish oil capsules that provide 2 to 300 milligrams of DHA. So you're too stupid to even look at the back of a nutrition label. And you don't have to just rely on flax oil. 3 ounces of walnuts will give you the same amount of ALA as in 1 tablespoon of flax oil, and there are many other vegan foods that are high in omega-3s, so it's very easy to get your DHA requirements on a vegan diet. And the benefit to getting your omega-3s on a vegan diet as opposed to relying on fish is that vegan sources of omega-3 fats aren't contaminated with heavy metals like mercury and endocrine-disrupting pollutants, and nuts and seeds actually prevent against heart disease, whereas fish and fish oils do not.
And that's if everything is going well. Because if you have deficiency of any nutrients that are involved in the enzymatic conversion of those plant-based fats into the long-chain fats, then you won't make those conversions at that optimal rate. It'll be even less. And ironically, many of those nutrients are nutrients that are not well represented in a vegan or vegetarian diet.
This is more ignorant fear-mongering bullshit. Non-fish eating vegetarians convert ALA to DHA.
Okay, so very entertaining. I mean, not very entertaining. Like, I'm impressed. I am impressed with, like, I talk shit about the whole like vegan, internet debate style of communication, but this guy like does it well, right? He's like a great debater, I guess. There's so much in here that like I would need to like go through everything and like look at it and whatever if I can give my opinion. Not gonna do it, right? I'm stopping it here and there. But I will say this. I will say like as I'm watching this, like I'm actually considering like trying to not eat meat, like to try a vegan diet and see if I can maintain a high level of like athletic performance and like feeling good. Like I'm actually like considering it, right? And again, like sorry if you're like, that like blew your mind, but basically what I'm trying to say is like by watching this, it's making me think maybe it is possible to do a vegan diet without eating meat and still like perform at a high level. Okay. Now that said, like, does that mean it's easier or it requires less thinking or like it's cheaper or I can buy fewer ingredients and like still do it? Probably not. Does this mean that it's like overall better than eating meat? I still don't think so, despite like all of these like statistics. But it's getting me thinking for sure. Like all this. Okay, so what's my problem with this? All these numbers that you read in studies, like, oh well, we can actually convert this % of ALA and DHA, and like, what are you like sitting there like taking your blood and like testing it in your like home lab? Like, no, of course not. You're like eating your food, you're going to work out, and you're like casually noticing like, like today I felt like shit during my workout. Oh, maybe it's because yesterday, I ate fucking, I didn't have any meat or whatever. What I will say though is and again, I will kind of put him in the same category as Patrick Baboumian and Blessed Athlete. Oh my God, in that he like promotes a healthy lifestyle and like is not, well, I mean, he did kind of recommend like the vegan milks, I guess, which is not like great, but I guess more so than other vegan influencers, right? Who are just like, oh, I'm a vegan, watch me drink my green juice, like I got these vegan, fucking whatever, like potato chips. Anyway, dude seems legit for sure. Let's just keep watching.
At a 22% higher rate than fish eaters. This is a metabolic adaptation that your body makes when you aren't consuming EPA and DHA directly.
Another would be vitamin K2, which is a different form of vitamin K that's recently been discovered, and it's really important for cardiovascular and bone health. It basically makes sure that calcium gets in our bones and our teeth and our hard tissues where it belongs, and keeps it out of the soft tissues like our arteries, where calcium would make our arteries hard and increase the risk of a heart attack. So K2 is only really in animal foods, with the exception of some fermented foods like natto.
Literally every sentence you make is nonsense. The scientific consensus is that both vitamin K1 and K2 are adequate for health. You can get plenty of vitamin K1 from green leafy vegetables. Also, your own gut bacteria produces vitamin K2, which makes it very difficult to become vitamin K deficient unless you've undergone antibiotic therapy. There's also no evidence that vegans tend to suffer from vitamin K1 deficiencies, and vitamin K1 supplementation has been shown to improve bone health in elderly women. So again, you're just talking out of your ass here. And with regards to vitamin K2 reducing artery calcification and heart disease risk, who cares? Vegans still have the lowest risk of heart disease, particularly from ischemic heart disease. So clearly the benefits of a vegan diet outweigh any possible advantages of getting K2 from animal products which cause heart disease. And if you still really want to, you can take vegan vitamin K2 supplements.
What can vegans take in order to sort of...
I recommend that vegans take microalgae because it has preformed DHA in it. So you bypass that whole conversion issue.
If they do take microalgae, is that sufficient, or how much difference is that than eating fish?
Well, it's quite different because fish have a lot of other nutrients aside from EPA and DHA. They have protein, they have selenium,
Right.
They have a lot of other bioavailable nutrients, but and the other disadvantage is you have to take a boatload of algae.
What's a boatload? Give me a coffee cup.
No, I mean, I think so. They're different products, have different amounts, but I think you'd have to take 6 to 9 capsules a day of the average algae supplement in order to meet your DHA
That's
needs.
not bad.
Are you serious? On your website, you claim you need 500 milligrams of DHA per day. Your average algae DHA supplement has 200 milligrams of DHA, which is in the range you'd recommend for fish oil capsules. So what is your problem? Are you not living in reality?
There are other shortcomings, other nutrients like B12, which
That's an issue.
that's a big issue, and vegans need to be supplementing with that.
Big deal. Vegans still have lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, live longer, but wow, you need to supplement B12. You may as well kill yourself. You don't even need supplements. You could just eat fortified foods. You're making a big deal out of nothing.
So, I took way more antibiotics than I would have done in retrospect, because that's what the doctors were prescribing and saying, look, you've got these parasites, we've got to get rid of them. This is how you do it. And, and I think the antibiotics, could have been, like, the treatment was probably worse than the disease for me at that, after the number of courses of antibiotics that I took.
Wow.
So along that path, I tried just about every...
So I'm a practical person, right? I don't to me, this whole like vegan carnivore debate on the internet is like, it's similar to like the political debate, like left versus right, Democrat, Republican. Like, I hate it so much. Like, it makes me want to blow my brains out. However, what I will say is that if I am witnessing a debate between people, I will not necessarily like completely ignore what they're saying, but I will kind of just take, like, I'll look at these people and I'll be like, like, who would I rather take advice from? And like, come on, like, okay, like, I get it. People hate this dude, but like, look at this guy, fucking Skeletor. You know what I mean? Like, and he's like trying to sell books. You know what I mean? And I don't know if this guy like sells supplements or programs or something like that. He's big enough. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. So, okay, both maybe like a little bit biased. But like this guy, like, this is a much more overt, in your face kind of way of like, I'm promoting my new book. I'm going to go on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm going to like talk about, and again, I don't think this is like sinister in any way. Like, we're all trying to sell our shit, of course. And this guy obviously, like, it's the whole issue of, you promote these principles and you're like saying these things, and it does contribute to your livelihood, because like, he's got a big channel. I'm sure he makes money from the ad revenue on YouTube and whatever else he's doing. So okay, a little bit of bias with both, but like, in terms of like health and fitness, I would take this guy's advice over homie like in a second. Oh my God, like, this guy's like, he looks fit, he looks healthy, he's got like clear skin. This dude is like pink, like, doesn't look like he works out very much. Just is not, it's not got a good look. That said, like, again, it just comes down to if you try it. Like, it's possible, like I said, most vegans just don't do it right, and they are kind of doing it for the animals, or doing it to be trendy, or doing it so they can, I guess, feel better about eating their like vegan cookies instead of actual cookies. I don't really know, but I think if push comes to shove, I guess it's possible to be healthy on a vegan diet. There you go, I said it. I guess it's possible. You know what I mean? Like, this guy, like, regardless of all the studies he quoted, right? I care less about the studies, and I'm looking like more at this person, right? I'm looking at the individual here. Dude looks like he's fit. He looks like he's in shape. He's like coherent mentally. He put all of this work into like making this video. Like, this requires intelligence. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, maybe somebody made this for him and like gave him a script to read. I doubt it. But this like requires like a high level of intelligence. Okay. This is like, you can hate this guy because he's abrasive and he's a dick, and like, you might not agree with him, but you have to on some level respect, I would say, like, let's call it his intelligence. And to be honest with you, like, it takes balls to fucking go out there and like go to battle as a vegan. You know what I mean? And that's it. Like I said, in my experience, it's just easier to eat meat and perform well. Period. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Like, Vegan Gains, Patrick Bohemian, like, give me the protocol. Like, tell me, more about what to eat. I'll try it, right? Like I said, I'm not attached to eating meat. Anyway, let's just finish the video.
Special diet you can possibly imagine, including becoming a vegetarian and a vegan, and then a macrobiotic vegan, and then raw food vegan. I've been there, done that, and so I'm completely sympathetic, like, to all. And I'm also a long-time meditator and Buddhist, so I understand the ethical argument very well. Many of my friends don't eat meat. I'm sympathetic. I care about the environment. I'm sympathetic to that argument. I'm certainly not, I'm coming to this from a place of, I think, a pretty balanced viewpoint.
Pretty balanced viewpoint, my ass. Like you said, you got sick years ago and you tried every diet you could imagine to improve your health. You're uneducated and it's clear that you just chase after fads. And right now you're riding the paleo diet fad. So next time I see you, you'll probably be on Dr. Oz.
What a relief. Claim for this poisonous product cease. This is another public service announcement. You can believe it or you can doubt it. Let us begin now with the cow. The way it gets to your plate and how.
Okay. Wow, that was a doozy. Okay, so vegan gains. Interesting. Never actually watched a video of his. I am impressed with him as a person. Okay, I don't like. I think the structuring all of this information and like making your arguments like that. First of all, like, okay, so homeboy who
Would make our arteries hard and increase
oh
the
my
risk
god, stop talking. This guy, like, who's going to take advice from him anyway? Like, doesn't exactly look like the paragon of health. But like I said, in terms of the vegan diet, don't know too many healthy vegans. I guess there's some high-level athletes who are vegan and healthy, but do they have extra help? You know what I mean? However, that said, let's say you take your average person, or your average like gym bro, or your average whatever, and you say, okay, you give them a challenge. Okay, so you can't eat any meat. I actually kind of want to do this myself, to be honest with you. Now that I'm thinking about it, okay, you don't eat any meat for a month, and you have to continue training the same way, or possibly even increase the intensity of your training, and you're not allowed to eat any meat. And then you like further encourage them to focus on eating what I assume are the recommended foods of vegan athletes, which is like beans, lentils, I don't know, oats, maybe like healthy bread, rye bread, maybe, that, and then you like notice the difference, I guess. Okay, so that's number one. And like speaking, hypothesizing here, I would not expect there to be a huge difference, okay, because those foods are generally, in my experience, are good like energy foods for like good workouts. Are they good foods for like recovery? I don't know. I don't think they're as good as like liver or like muscle meat, for example, but is the difference noticeable? Good question. That's number one. Number two, something that I should have mentioned earlier in the video is that like all of these studies that he presented, I haven't like actually checked all of them, and there are some issues that I have with the ones that I like paused the video and read. But that said, I guess the main question that I would have is like, how does this kind of take into consideration the Weston A. Price Foundation and Weston A. Price's research on like primitive cultures that did not have a lot of access, didn't have any access to modern dental care, and his basically like analysis of their teeth as a reflection of their nutritional health, nutritional level, whatever. And you know what I mean, right? Like how, if they were deficient in anything. Because as far as I recall, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that his research indicates, right? Like here I am like cherry picking studies. His research indicates that you need to like eat lots of meat, and or these cultures ate lots of meat, which was high in nutrients, and like, they were super healthy as a result. So again, like, wow, that was a long video. I can't believe I actually did all that. Hopefully there's no like errors with the sound or anything. Impressed with vegan gains. Like, I get it if you want to hate on this guy, but like you got to admire the guy, honestly. Like if you're able to see it in an unbiased way, like you got to admire him straight up. Like, could you do that? Probably not. Okay, so anyway, if you guys have any other videos that you want me to take a look at, let me know in a comment. Leave me, like, if possible, show me specifically which video. Like, these people like told me to watch this specific video, so thank you for that. Peace.